everything now.
Hopefully, it'll be a little bit more than that. All right, guys, we are back live for another edition of Talking Prep. Chris is back on the sun drop. What happened to the diet?
I'm off the wagon.
Off the wagon. It lasted about 2 weeks. Can't get rid of it. We got a big show, guys. Let's hit that theme music. Man, Labor Day. Guys, thanks for coming on Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to all of you guys out there. Hope you enjoyed the cookouts and the hamburgers and the hot dogs. I shot a really bad round of golf, and Coach Grinder would even come meet me out on the golf course.
You like, I'm already gone. Like, you at my house. You didn't even like.
I shot well.
I didn't know what hole you been doing. I thought you were on the back nine.
Yeah, I'm on the front side.
You should have called me.
Yeah,
or me, I'll play today.
Next time, I'll show you guys a really bad round of golf. Really bad round of golf. Look, with no further ado, we're gonna bring in my man, No Limit Larry,
the legend.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
Good.
Great.
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm live from my vacation beach house.
All right.
You look like you got really lean before you went to the beach too. Like you been on a diet or something. You look good, man.
Absolutely, man. I've been on a 30-day diet, man. Working with a trainer. He challenged me to lose 15 pounds in 30 days. So I've been
nice.
Yes, sir.
So what you been doing to lose all that weight?
Man, just working out 3 days a week, eating right, and trying to play a little basketball on the sneak tip. For cardio. And swim. I know y'all probably don't think black people swim, but I'm one of the few that
do. Man, I think swimming at the McCrory Wild when I was 6 years old, man. Don't start that. Don't start
that. I still swim. I used to be a lifeguard, so I still try to get my swimming in too.
All right, man. Look, we got questions, and we got to stay on time. They're already telling me Langston can stay on time. Larry, how did you get the name No Limit? Tell us a little bit about growing up in Charlotte. I know you're East Met guy. Talk about that a little bit.
Grew up right here in Charlotte, man, and like you said, went to East Mecklenburg. I was a part of the last football team to beat Independence before they went on their run. Graduated from East Mecklenburg High School on the East Meck Wall of Fame. Went to John C. Smith. I got the name No Limit Larry because I used to work for No Limit Records during college. While I was in college, I was on a part of the college street team. And then when I got to radio, I was just a guy that kind of knew how to do everything. And a guy by the name of DJ Easy Ice one day, he called me. He was just like, bro, you just like, it's just no limit to what you know how to do. It's just like, No Limit Larry, and the name just kind of stuck.
Wow. One thing, WPG's had a lot of hosts and faces over the years, but you stuck longer than anybody that I can remember. Why do you think you've had such longevity, and why do you think you're so popular within the city? You've had a #1 show off and on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, I attribute that to my mentor. My mentor was Nate Quick. I worked with Nate when he worked in the afternoons. I interned under him. He showed me a lot as a man. He showed me a lot as a personality. And, I attribute all that to him and just the work that he put in. And, of course, just being in the community constantly and consistently. I think that's what keeps me on the airwaves. Is people just, I'm touchable. Like people, they know when I go out, they know who I am. And sometimes it's surprising. People I've never seen before in my life walk up to me, hey, Larry, like, hey, who the hell are you? But I think it's just because, just staying in the community and staying grounded.
Everybody loves No Limit, man. I don't know anybody that's into the Black community as much as you are. One of the reasons I wanted to have you on is, in your eyes, how has the pandemic affected Charlotte's Black community, and what has gone on that you like, and what has gone on that you don't like that you'd like to see change?
I think the Black community has been hit the hardest when it comes to the pandemic. One reason I felt like because at first we didn't take it serious. We thought it was a joke. We thought it was a thing where it was only affecting a certain number of people, and it wasn't really affecting our people. So we were told. I think once we finally began to take the pandemic serious, I think we kind of started wearing our masks. We kind of started taking it serious. One thing I saw hit hard was the homeless community. When you talk about the homeless community of Charlotte, they're the last to receive resources. They're the last thought about. They're the last of the last. So one thing I saw as far as city leadership, a lot of the city leaders did not think about, well, dang, we got this homeless population. What are they going to do once their resources close down? So that's why I teamed up with an organization by the name of Black Love Charlotte. And we kind of stepped in and we've kind of been that resource for them. One thing I've liked about the pandemic is so many people have discovered in this city that we have a lot of homeless people, and so many people have stepped up to help the homeless situation in our city.
Larry, good evening. I know you're a big high school football fan. I know, we always hear you on scene at, some of the different big games throughout the city. Just can you give us some of your thoughts on, the season being delayed to the spring and just kind of how you think that affects you and just your overall thoughts on the matter?
Oh man, it was very upsetting, and it wasn't upsetting from my standpoint. I frequent schools and I frequent neighborhoods where a lot of our kids, this is what they want to do. Like, this is not their only option, but this is like a relief for them. And for to have it delayed, it's like, oh my God, like they want something to do. A lot of them have been locked in the house. A lot of them haven't been anywhere. They haven't been outside of the neighborhood. So football and basketball give them a chance to release some of that energy. I was kind of upset that the season was delayed. I'm still glad that they're trying to make something happen in the spring. But especially for the seniors, especially for the senior class, I feel bad for this complete senior class of 2020 and 2021. Man, it's like, oh man, can they find something for these kids to do, and hopefully they'll find a way for them to have a season for football, basketball, and even track, because we're hoping that we have a hold of this pandemic by 2021, but it's no guarantee. But I miss high school football. I want to be on the sideline on Friday night, cheering and bumping into Langston and running into football coaches and all that.
Larry, you got to stop taking me out. Now, I had Sue Durand on a couple weeks ago, and she stopped talking, and I switched cameras, and then she keep talking, and you faking me out right now.
Yeah, here's the juke move.
Here's the juke move.
My bad.
No, I wanted to touch on that too, because you talk about Fridays, and even as a coach, I feel myself kind of, even my body kind of gearing up in that adrenaline on Friday nights, and I find myself now kind of, in that weird space of wanting the season, but it's not here. How much do you miss it, and have you noticed kind of your routine that you've had to change on Fridays in the fall?
Man, I miss it. Oh man, like I said, I used to be on the sidelines every Friday night at the biggest game of the biggest game. I miss yelling back at the fans. I miss just being on the sidelines. I miss going live on Instagram and going to the barbershop on Friday and telling my friends, well, I'm gonna be at the big game tonight. I hope you be out there. I miss it bad, and it's like, it's almost like you really miss a part of your life. I'm really missing a part of my life.
No, I completely understand that. And of course, having you on here, I'd be remiss as the youngest member of the cast and someone who's most in tune to, contemporary music, wanted to talk and kind of switch it in that lane. We've seen within North Carolina, it's kind of had, an emergence here. I mean, we see nationally, we've seen DaBaby and the things he's done being on Saturday Night Live. We see J. Cole and the whole Dreamville, coalition really blowing up. Heck, we had, Luke on a major song talk about Betty's Floyd Road. Would you have ever seen that coming 10 years ago? And also, do you think Charlotte can become an emerging place for producers and songwriters and musicians, kind of like Atlanta?
I definitely think Charlotte is going to become an emerging place when it comes to music, when it comes to films, and when it comes to entertainment. Me and Nate used to sit back and talk about and loathe for the time that we would see an artist from Charlotte make it on the rap scene. We did it in R&B, so real big with Sunshine Anderson, with KC and JoJo, with Anthony Hamilton, with Calvin Richardson. We've seen our city do it real big on the music scene as far as R&B, but to see a rap artist to be as consistent as DaBaby has been, it's amazing for the city. J. Cole did it for North Carolina with Fayetteville, and right before him, it was Petey Pablo who did it for North Carolina. But when you talk about being from a city, I saw this young man. I remember going to school and seeing this young man advance and seeing this young man at Turning Point and watching him host his own shows and watching him, grow as an individual, and then to see him on Saturday Night Live, see him have #1 records, see him have a #1 song for like 7-8 weeks and break records, and just continue to break records, man. It is amazing. And I think Charlotte is definitely going to be that next hub for music and entertainment.
Larry, you bring that up.
about the baby, and I was at a football practice last year, and most of the high schools, they practice with music nowadays, and the baby came on, and those kids lost their mind right in the middle of football practice.
They always. You see the phones up in every picture.
Put the phones up, man.
All the IG pictures from all of my kids. You got to have the phone. That's changed, transformed everything.
And I think if you see some guys score some touchdowns, well, if we just saw some guys score some touchdowns this year, they definitely would have been throwing the phones up. So
yeah, I was like, like Bryce said, he's the youngest. I'm probably the oldest. I'm like, what is going on? What's wrong with these people? They was like, that's the baby.
That's the
from the city. We got my guy screaming at Hopewell. We North Betty's Ford Road to the wheels fall. That's our slogan. To hear Luke say that, to put Betty's Ford Road on the map. Our guys, I'm North Betty's Ford Road. That's our mentality up there at Hopewell. That's crazy to hear.
Man, yeah, but Larry, getting back to your hobby of going to Friday night football games, how do you think that's going to affect the kids from CMS this year to know that their private school counterparts or just over the border in Rock Hill, they're playing football?
I think a lot of them are probably, if they're not, if they're coaches, I don't know what y'all are doing as coaches to keep them in tune with football. I think a lot of them will be going to the games. A lot of them will be, they're going to find themselves, because once you're in that football mode, which a lot of players are, we're going to see the NFL take place this Sunday, this Thursday. And I think once you're in that football mode, you want to eat, you want to live, you want to sleep football. So I think they're going to want to be at the games. They're going to want to be around the games. But I think it's going to put, some of them is going to put a burning desire to get back on that field. And I think what you're going to see is a lot of the players who might have been your B- and your C players they're going to put in the work and become A type players.
On Instagram, you go by the hashtag Larry Mad.
The hottest hashtag on Instagram.
And how popular has that become for you, and how did it get started?
So it started out as I was talking to one of my friends, and we was just talking about different subjects, and I was like, man, I'm mad at that. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna try to bring that to the airwaves. So I started just doing it on my Instagram page, and as we change our shows, we're like television. We changed our shows by the season. So as we began our fall season about a year and a half ago, I was like, I'm gonna just do it on the air. And I started doing it and put it on my and just included my Instagram in it. And now, honestly, it is like the hottest hashtag on Instagram. It averages about 7,500 views or more. The average is 7,500. And everywhere I go now, everybody's, what Larry mad at? And all this. So we had this big radio conference back in June. And we had a big radio conference back in June via Zoom. And everybody, when they came in the Zoom room, all they said was, what is Larry mad at? What is Larry mad at? So all the celebs, they all know, my homeboy, one of my good friends, he's a quote-unquote rap artist, Fabo. All of them, they always say, what you mad about today? All the DJs, that's all they talk about. So I love it, man. And people send me stuff. They'll DM me stuff. They'll Facebook me stuff. People will walk up to me, hey, you need to be mad about this. And some of it I use and some of it I don't, but I love it.
My favorite Larry Mad was the lady who was climbing on front of the truck as the truck was moving. I'm like, what in the world?
That was on West Boulevard. That was on the school bus. That was on the city bus on West Boulevard.
Oh man, I was like, wow. Larry, before we let you go, Sam was begging to talk to you and thank you for something he was saying. So
Sam is my guy, man.
No, I just want to really you always care about the community, especially inner city Charlotte, and just thank you for everything you did for me in the past and letting us come on your show and to be able to sing our praises to you. You're a stand-up guy, and I really appreciate it, brother.
Man, Sam, listen, we thank you for what you did over there at Hardin High School. You don't know the implant and the imprint that you made on a lot of those young men's life. A lot of those young men, had you not been at that school, would have been doing a lot of different things. So the impact that you made in their life is far bigger than anything I've ever done over there or I've ever done, point blank, period. And that's why I think Thomas was so moved just hearing the story, because a lot of us know about Hardin High School. Like if you live in Charlotte for a certain number of years, you know about Hardin High School. You know where a lot of those young men come from. You know how a lot of those young men go to sleep, and a lot of them might not wake up the next morning just because of their environment. So what you did over there was amazing, and we thank you, and we continue to thank you for what you did in our neighborhoods.
Appreciate it. Tell Jessica I said hey too, by the way.
I definitely will. I definitely will.
She's the best person on your show by far, obviously.
And Larry, when we start doing the picks, you back with me again in the paper, right? We start doing the picks. I'm
ready, man. Let me know. We got to do them virtual. We got to do them by Braille. It don't matter. Just let me know.
We'll get you back on here and virtual. But last year, you finished 4th.
That's okay. That's better than finish 7th.
All right, John. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate y'all, man.
All right. That's my man, No Limit Larry. I used to do a TV show with him on Channel 36. We did a football show with the guy's name skipping my mind. But we did a football show on WCNC for like 4 or 5 years. We had the most fun in the world. All right, we're going to bring in Adam Hastings, the football coach at Indian Land High School. I'm almost at Providence Day. I caught myself.
Uh-oh.
I almost at Audrey Kell. I caught myself. But you left us. You left us and went across the border, and now you playing football. We're not. And just tell me what it's like to be on that side, about to get ready, and Charlotte's not.
Stop laughing. That's not funny.
Well, first, thanks for having me on, and I really love this platform that you put on for the last couple of months. But it's just exciting. Our kids, when we started working out in June, they were so happy to be back. They were so happy to be doing something that was football, was together, something that was normal for them. And with so much uncertainty that was going on all through the summer, I was just so proud to see how they came together, how they worked, how they just kept on pushing through when everybody started to shut down. And so it's exciting. I mean, our guys are really, they're jacked up. I think last week we gave out pads to get ready for tomorrow, and I think most of them went in the locker room and tried them on, and they're ready to go. So we're excited. We're excited to see what this next 2 weeks is going to bring.
Hey, Coach, good to see you on here. Always a pleasure to spend some time with you. Last week we had Chad Greer on, and I was giving him some praises of what I think that he can do at Providence Day. But I've got to preface that without the foundation that you are a huge part of building there, I don't think that he would be primed to have the success that he's going to have. And on that note, you had Providence Day rolling. You won a D2 championship and you reached the D1 final. You were getting some talent and big time talent. You had some great talent. I just want to ask the question why you would leave. Now I think I know why you would leave from a money standpoint, but to have something going the way you did and to step aside, that had to be a very hard decision.
Oh, it was really hard. It's the same thing when I was at Audrey Kell, and really felt like we had built a really great thing there. It was hard for us. It was hard for me and the staff that left to do it to go to Providence Day. And for me, I never look at am I trying to climb a ladder. For me, it's always trying to find a place that for wherever I'm at in my time. That fits what I want and where I'm at. And it was really hard to leave PD. The great kids there, great school, great people there, made some amazing relationships. And that's really what I value is creating those relationships with the players and the people of the community. And it was tough. But once I got to know, the administration at Indian and where that school was going, moving in a brand new facility, the school's one of the fastest growing schools in the state. Just really an aggressive move of where they want to go, and then the ability to bring in the staff that I feel like is second to none. It made it a really hard, but at the same time a really good opportunity for me.
And I'm glad that you brought up the new facilities at Indian Land. I'm kind of skipping ahead, but I've driven by it, and it's going to be unbelievable, like second to none within the state of South Carolina. I think it's going to be one of those on par with the Dorman or Spartanburg or some of those best of the best ones. And I don't think some people realize how close Indian Land is. I used to think of it being so rural, but now it's right there at Ballantyne. So, I mean, it's primed to be a really good school. But I want to ask you this, and I think that you're an authoritative voice because of your time at both Argyle and Providence Day, as we mentioned. We'll just ask Limit Larry the same question, but I was curious about your thoughts on this. You guys are playing in South Carolina, and the North Carolina private schools are as well, but the public schools here in North Carolina are not. Just want to get your thoughts on that, and how do you think the kids that are watching feel about it?
You know, I was asked this question by a fellow head coach in South Carolina last week, and my response is kind of the same response I've given our kids all summer. I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I went to public school. I'm a football coach, and depending on who you ask, they might say I'm not a very good one. And so all I know is that we have this opportunity. And we're gonna take it. And I do feel for the kids who are in North Carolina who can't play. But I think the same, the one mode that I had in my head if we got shut down is that every time that you have something like this happen, it's an opportunity. And I do feel like for the places in North Carolina, the public schools in North Carolina that have shut down, I think there are great opportunities for them there. To get better, to work on some things in the off season, and with how the signing period is going to be, it's going to be a really good opportunity for them to showcase what they've been doing, especially for those rising seniors right before signing day. So, I think it is tough and it is difficult, and it's going to be hard for them to watch, football Friday night and see highlights from the private schools and from, the South Carolina public schools. But at the same time, I think it's an opportunity for them if they treat it as one. To turn back around and be ready to go in the spring.
And just to follow that up, you talk about the opportunity to be on Football Friday night and the platform to be seen. Do you think, there's a lot of players who continuously have either been rumored or have now committed to crossing the border to play football in South Carolina, to go down there to try and get recruited? Do you think there's more fact that this is happening and they are going to get better their recruiting chance, or do you think that this is fiction, or what do you think the truth is to that about kids just trying to cross the border thinking it's a better move?
To try to predict the recruiting world is to try to predict the weather. So to know its impact, I think it's anytime like that, it's a chance. I think for the players that want to graduate early and that are looking to be mid-year enrollees, and haven't got where they want to go, I think that's going to be probably the ones that are going to be the biggest at play at potentially crossing the border. But I feel like when people look at it, it's a chance. You're taking a chance. You're leaving a place that to go to a place that's unknown in August. So it's going to be difficult, even with us starting in late September with actual games. So I think there's obviously some pretty big. On both sides, there's some pretty big obstacles to kind of get to a defined answer.
Can't hear you, Dale.
Oh, sorry about that. I had the mic on mute.
You're good.
Adam, it's great having you on. And as mentioned, you've been very successful a number of places, and Indian Land to me has looked like one of those places that can have great success. I think with the types of students that you have, the facilities that you have coming in. You mentioned you're building a second to none staff. We'd just like to ask you a little bit about where Indian Land has been. If I understand correctly, you're going up in classification. Is that right? And so could you talk about that, maybe about where your program's at, and what do you think the future, I know what you want the future to look like, but what can you tell us the future is going to look like?
For me, I can remember, I live in the Marvin Waxhaw area. I can remember, Indian Land being a 2A school. And I know a lot of people in this area, especially in the Indian Land area, can remember it was a 1A school. To think it in just, in a very short amount of time, they jumped from 2 to 3 to now to 4A. I think it shows you that the growth in that area is coming. And it's coming. You can see it. Just drive down 521 and there's developments, there's companies, there's stores going up left and right. So I think growth is there. I think the program's been, it's had some highs and had some lows. I mean, I'm not really been that obsessed with looking at the past. I just think you can get caught up in that. I'm just focused on the future. And I tell you, our kids are amazing. We got leaders. We got players. Our players, the guys that we're going to have to really depend on, are some of our best leaders. Our attendance has been great this summer. It's been very consistent. And they just show up and work. And I've been really impressed. Every time we have thrown something harder and harder and harder at them, they have really stepped up and really bought in. And I know they want to be great. You can tell just by being around them. And they want to be great for each other, which is the one thing that I think I really value from those guys. And, with the staff that we have, with the administration that we have, I do think, those dreams that I have for where this program is going to go, I think they're obtainable.
Gotcha. You mentioned about the growth, and I have to tell you, back in the early 80s, I used to drive to Lancaster twice a week, and I would go right down 521. There was nothing there. It was virtually nothing there. You've made the jump to South Carolina, which a lot of coaches want to do, and we hear a lot of reasons why. And of course, one of the things that we hear about South Carolina is that South Carolina takes football more seriously. And I think a lot of us believe that. Now that you've had an opportunity to be there, what can you share for us in that perspective of how it is to be in South Carolina compared to North Carolina for football?
I want to say, football, I do think they take football on. Football is definitely – I think athletics in general in South Carolina, it has a lot more emphasis on it. And I've been really impressed and not been surprised from what I've heard, but been really impressed with the emphasis that at least building a program is given in South Carolina when it comes to athletics and when it comes to football. And everything you hear is true. It is absolutely true. The schedule, the schedule's made for staffs and teams and kids to grow and have an off season to do great things. We have a great setup for spring ball, which we were really, disappointed we weren't able to kind of utilize and have, especially at the year one. And I just think the direction that a lot of things that happen in I'll just use Lancaster County, for example, is geared toward athletics and geared toward football. And that's been definitely a relief as compared to, it's hard to say this, about a big district like CMS, but it's a big difference from the stance that, CMS can take in North Carolina.
Adam, how you doing, brother?
Good, Coach. How are you?
It's been a while, man. I hope you're doing good. Family's good. Everybody's well.
Good. You?
Yeah, really good. I'm glad to be back at it, man. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't know this about you. I know we've talked about it before, but you were probably one of the greatest motivators I've seen. I remember sneaking into a room. It was during that 7-on-7 you hosted at PD, and you were giving them a big pep talk, and I love it. Ryan Williams is both friends of us.
Yeah.
When you were at Ajacel, you had one of the greatest things in the stands. Can you elaborate on what happened in the stands where you pretend like someone was on side? Tell me about that.
We had a big conference game coming up against a very close rival of ours. I'm going to blow this till everybody was on that team. And we had, both of us were kind of playing for second place, which was very common in the Southwestern 4A.
With Catholic. Yeah.
Well, this was before Catholic.
That is right. I forgot about that.
This is Indy, Butler, East Mac. I mean, when all those guys were, you had to bring it every day in that conference. But, one of our near rivals, we were playing late in the season, and we had someone dress up in their clothes and come and act like they're filming our practice. And we Sam, I'm kind of mad you made me spill the beans on this one.
Oh no, sorry, man.
And we kicked him out of practice, and that was a big motivator for that week. Our guys are ready to go after that.
Not many people know that about you. You're super clever, and I like to say, you have an OC now that people try to say that we look a lot alike. I think I look a little nicer than that guy right there.
I think Nick Mata may have a hard time with that one.
Yeah, Nick's a good guy. It's a great hire.
All right, Adam, we got a guy you may know right below you, Alex Zietlow from the Rock Hill Herald. How you doing, Alex?
Doing great.
We're gonna get you on a lot this fall because we're not playing football in Charlotte.
I would love it, man. I would love it.
We gotta get some reports of what's going on. Now, don't be nervous because Coach is sitting above you. Now, don't be nervous.
Oh, I'm already nervous. I could feel the anxiety in my chest. Yeah.
Give us the scoop on the Rock Hill area schools. Who's going to be good in your area?
Oh, that's a nebulous question. So whenever you talk about Rock Hill, you got to talk about the 3 Rock Hill schools, I think, Northwestern, South Point, and Rock Hill High, obviously. The Rock Hill and Northwestern, they're going to be they're in a different region than a lot of our other area teams, and different region than they normally are, but they have talent. They're 2 of the 3 reasons why Rock Hill is called Football City, USA. And South Point, there was a Max Preps South Carolina preseason poll that released the top 25 teams in South Carolina, and South Point wasn't on that preseason top 25 poll, and putting that out there and seeing South Point Nation kind of come out and say, yo, we're disrespected. We deserve to be on there. I mean, if you think about it, South Point hasn't been, I was thinking about this earlier today. South Point hasn't been entered a game expecting to lose in 6 years. And that's because they won 4 in a row from 2013 to 2017. And in the last 2 years, they lost early in the playoffs, but both games came down to the final play. So South Point you can kind of see the motivation that South Point has.
How good is Indian Land going to be?
So Coach, I really want to come to one of your practices. I really want to. I do need to check out the Indian Land team, but Coach Hastings, his reputation precedes him. He's quite the coach with quite the record. Indian Land was actually quite good last year. They struggled a little bit with depth, but they did compete with a lot of 5A teams in the area. And yeah, Coach Hastings can speak more about how good his team's going to be. But Indian Land's going to be a team to reckon with. The 4A region, Coach Hastings, the 4A region the 4A classification in our area it's mighty tough. You got York, you got South Point, you got Catawba Ridge, which a lot of talent there, including one of your guys from Providence Day that came to Catawba Ridge. So that region's going to be tough.
Yeah.
Dang, he's writing them off already. Oh,
no, I don't mean to write anyone off.
Tell Adam, tell him to when he comes to your practice, just wear one of those opposing t-shirts.
Exactly.
Yeah, Grice just asked on the chat, ask about the Catawba Ridge player guaranteeing a victory in the Catawba Ridge South Point game week 1. Do you know anything about this?
Yes, I do know about this. So I actually went to a Catawba Ridge practice last week, and in doing some research, I was like, okay, has anything been written about Catawba Ridge? And a reporter from WBTV was kind of talking about the opening game with Catawba Ridge versus South Point, and the players are just really excited for this season. You know what I'm saying? And a player was asked what are you most looking forward to in the matchup against South Point? And the player effectively he kind of stumbled through his first couple words, and then he just kind of said, you know what, we're gonna win. Or when we play South Point, we're gonna beat South Point, and we're gonna shock the world, sort of thing. And Coach, and I was about to talk to some players when I was writing a preview on Catawba Ridge this year, and Coach pulled me aside and he was like, "Don't ask him to guarantee anything," which is quite funny. But yeah, that's what happened. And South Point also, that's some more fuel for South Point's fire.
You touched on that statewide poll, Chris. They did not pick Tommy number 1 in the 5A poll. Is that blasphemy?
Without a doubt. Coach Knotts has proven that he's already one of the best ever in the state of South Carolina, even in his 9-year, 10-year body of work. What he's taken a school that had won back-to-back 2-win seasons, I think, in the years preceding his arrival from Independence back in 2010 is unbelievable. Not picking a Coach Knott's team. I think that they will probably regret that, knowing him as well as I do. He's not going to outwardly say it, but that he's going to have that in the back of his mind. And he's going to remember that when it comes crunch time. I do want to ask a question, Alex, about South Point, since we were talking about them. I had seen the report come across and wanted to kind of get your thoughts on Nabanye Moore, who is a senior quarterback that had moved down, a 3-year starter from Statesville. I have him as one of the top 5 senior quarterbacks in the state. And with him, Statesville was going to be unbelievable. And insert him at a team like South Point that's already been pretty good. What do you think he can do contributing-wise that in his only season there?
Oh, boy. You might have stumped me with that player. To be honest, I didn't know that South Point was getting that guy.
You just made Alex have to go do work after the show.
Sorry about that. Well, I'll go ahead and do it again. I had seen it because it's already on South Point. I just double checked to make sure he is on their Max Preps roster. But I had seen the social media and some of the reports come across. Nabanye Moore, 6'1", about a 210, 205 pound quarterback. One of the better ones I've seen. 3-year starter at Statesville. I think that's a considerable acquisition, and we've been talking for a while about players that had moved across the border. Yeah. We've got young man Paysor that left Kings Mountain, heading to Gaffney. I mean, I just think that's another high-profile guy that's decided to jump the border and play.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've seen a lot of South Carolina football, North Carolina football. Just your thoughts on one state versus the other. Please make the point you're about to make. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, so I was just going to mention, Alex, the team in my backdrop here, Catawba Ridge. I was real curious. I saw them play last year, and they have tremendous young talent, just loaded with sophomores with talent and freshmen. I'm curious as to what you saw out of them when you visited.
Yeah, well, that's one of the storylines of the season. They are returning every single starter from last year, which I think that's a luxury that really rarely any coaches kind of get a chance to do, because their inaugural year was just last year. And yeah, they were. And I mean, Coach was also saying, oftentimes our offensive linemen were where they needed to be, but they don't they were where they needed to be, but they weren't big enough to kind of stop these defensive linemen or what have you. So I think a year of getting stronger, getting bigger, getting, I don't know, physically more mature, I think that'll help a lot. I think it'll help a lot.
Yeah, so I felt like we had good IQ, football IQ. I'm sorry, Langston.
Go ahead. Coach Hastings, you guys are going to be good enough to be in Alex's first preseason poll of the season.
I want to be in your last one.
That's the
stone. I'm telling you.
Well, Alex, we got to get you on week to week. Maybe we have like a little Alex Zietlow segment.
Yeah,
I would be cool with that. I feel like I really messed up my my audition with getting stuff.
Oh no, man, you're all good. We'll put you on with Coach Brian. He makes everybody comfortable. Just be the two of you guys. You guys can do your little
I'm gonna make him feel uncomfortable right here. Like my man's got a North Carolina banner in the background representing. Oh yeah. Don't let Will Muschamp see that stuff, man. I'm telling you right now.
Sam only likes 2 college football coaches.
Oh my! Don't say that. That's true. That's not.
You know which 2, but it's just 2. But Alex, thanks a lot for coming on. Coach Hastings, thanks a lot for coming on. We'll definitely get you guys both back later on in the year.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. Right.
Take care.
There's Adam Hastings, and there's my man Alex Zietlow, one of my coworkers there. All right, we are going to have to change the show up a little bit. So right now, I'm going to bring in. You guys have to excuse me. We're going to bring in Tim Winters of Union County Football. How you doing, Tim?
Good, Langston. How are you? Thanks for having me on tonight.
Does a phenomenal job with Union County football down there. Sometimes let me steal his video, which is even better.
Sorry.
And we're gonna bring in my man Alex Bass. Alex, how are you?
Uh-oh.
Can't hear you, Alex. You gotta turn your microphone on. We can't hear you. Now you turn it off. Still can't hear you. Log back out, come back in. Log back out, come back in, Alex. We're gonna kick you back out. Okay. And let me I'm gonna bring in Gary Richmond. And I'm looking down. You guys have to excuse me. I gotta make sure who's supposed to be on the screen. And I'm gonna take Sam out. We're a little off script here. Sam's out. And Chris is out. All right. And we were going to have a discussion about high school football and politics. And I wanted Tim to come on because he has some very strong opinions about the subject. Dale has some very strong opinions about the subject. I know Gary's has some strong opinions about the subject. And I just kind of want to let you guys kind of have an open discussion, you know, just talk about how you feel. I mean, I know it's hard when you see other people playing, other states playing nearby. I know all of us have discussed, you know, it was hard to watch high school football on television, hard to watch college football on television. Why aren't we playing? But, you know, our numbers to me still look kind of the same. But I wanted to give you guys a chance just to talk about it. I'm going to get out and let Dale direct. When Alex comes back, we'll plug Alex in. But I just want you guys to have a good talk. And I got to find my theme music because I get in trouble if I don't play the theme music. So here we go.
So, Tim, so that I don't forget, I watched your interview with Braden McAllister.
Yeah.
He's going to be my fresh face for tonight. So I got some good information out of that. Thank you.
I appreciate it. He's a great kicker for sure.
Yeah. I wish we could see him kicking this Friday night, but so guys, and I don't know if Alex Bass is going to be joining us or not, but there he is. Can you hear us, Alex?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Awesome, dude. Yes. So what we want to talk about, what Langston threw out as our question is, how do we feel that politics may be playing a part in our playing, and this has to be directed about the NCHSAA because, of course, privates are going to play as it stands right now. So just like to get your thoughts, and I guess I don't know how long they're going to give us, but I'm going to start with you, Tim, and Alex, then Gary, and you and I. So go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, you know, at the start of this, Dale, and you and I have gone back and forth on Facebook for a few months now. You know, the one thing I didn't want when it first started, everybody said it was all political. I didn't want to believe it. I've always tried to maintain an optimistic approach to this whole outbreak from day one. And as the weeks started rolling through, late March, April, mid-April, we started seeing numbers rolling in, data started pouring in, and seeing how different states reacted to the information that was coming in. And it was hard to ignore the fact that it did seem like things were getting political at that point. You know, we're in an election year, so I guess it's just natural. And you would hope that in times of a medical crisis that we could rise above it. But I don't think our elected officials have risen above it. I mean, look, when you look now, I think we have 17 or 18 states playing football. And I think all of those, I'm pretty sure all of those states are Republican-led states. We just had Michigan change and reverse policy. So they'll be one of the first led by a Democrat governor. So it's really hard. It's hard not to say that this stuff is not political when you see who's playing and who's not playing. Hawaii is the lowest ranked state in terms of cases and deaths, and they're not playing football. So.
Okay. Can we switch to Alex? Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you very much for the question. And I'd like to take a slightly different approach to this and say politics certainly are involved, not in the traditional sense. Here's what I mean by that. It's a good thing in the sense that if you notice that politics are involved, not in terms of landing on either side of the aisle, but I think we all should notice the manifold contributions of NCHSAA member schools and LEAs to the political process by which so many of these schools are polling sites for elections. And this has been going on for decades. So actually, yes, politics are involved, and it's a tribute to the NCHSAA's member schools and LEAs who so selflessly have served time and again as polling sites. That creates opportunities by which, even though, as Commissioner Q. Tucker pointed out in a recent interview on this very show, that the NCHSAA does not advocate voting. That's not something, that's not a platform they take. But the fact that member schools within the 100 plus LEAs serve so selflessly in this role encourages involvement in the process. So yes, it is political in a very good sense. And I think we should look at it in that light and realize that for whatever else might be going on, that in this manner, through NCHSAA member schools and LEAs being involved in serving as polling sites, that participation in the political process is being encouraged for all and by all. And that is a very good thing.
I think we would be naive to not believe or understand that the opening up of states has been political. Having said that, once you look within a state, I think as it is in terms of North Carolina, what you have is big versus small school systems. We learned from Sue Duran a couple of weeks ago the monumental task of bringing 9,000 student athletes in for workouts, and it's probably close to the same numbers in Wake County, a little smaller in Guilford, but versus a smaller county in eastern or western North Carolina that may only have one or two high schools. So I think that if you're looking just within North Carolina, yes, the process of opening the state is definitely political because we have a blue state as far as the governor is concerned. However, I think the process of activity within a state, at least through the summer, has been more or less big versus small. And how do we do this as a state when the numbers are so big in the most populous counties? Because if those LEAs said we can't play, then that basically tells the whole state you're not going to play. So I think it comes down to probably 5 school systems versus the other school systems within the state. And those 5 big school systems won out.
Right. So politics is about power over something else. And so I try to keep this focused on the football and what's happening within our state. And I think, first of all, we learned from Q that they're following whatever guidelines and whatever phase we're in within the state, which certainly at that level, we can't argue that there are politics involved. But the politics that may be involved here, Gary, is exactly what you hit on. And that is that the state, at least the public schools, are driven by the big school systems. And if those school systems aren't going to play, it's kind of difficult to have a season. So for 4A, for example, if Wake and Mecklenburg County school systems drop out, then it's kind of hard to have a 4A playoff. And that is somewhat power in that they make that decision. And as Sue told us, as you mentioned a few weeks ago, it's a monumental task for them to be able to bring on athletics. And thus, I'm sure that they, in their voice at the NCHSAA was, we're not going to do it. I think we finally got that clear that they let it be known that they just were not going to do it this fall, and that kind of them and Wake was taking an even more conservative approach early on. I think everyone agreed that probably Wake was going to be the first out of anything. So I think when we have those big school systems saying we're not going to do it, that kind of forces the hand of the NCHSAA to do what they had to, or do what they did. So guys, we're all here, all four of us now. And if anybody wants to say anything, let's maybe try to be cognizant that someone else may want to say something, but.
Well, Dale, what I was looking at today is, and watching the evening news across a couple of networks, is how the numbers are going back up again. Now that the colleges have opened and some schools are returning to school, I think we're going to be having this debate again when it's actually time to play. Are they going to let them play, or are they going to let them go back to school? I know CMS is optimistic that they want to try to bring in the younger kids first, see how that works out, and if that's successful, then they'll gradually bring other grade levels in. But based on watching the evening news today, the numbers are getting ready to go up again, and we're getting ready to hit this same debate about whether to open schools. And if schools are closed, can you play sports?
Well, one of the things I did was I took a look at all the schools, the states that did decide to play. And every state has some teams now that have gone into quarantine. So I felt like, as I've said all along, if we were going to have any success at playing, we should have rolled out and played in the fall, because it's not going to get better as we roll into the winter and then into the spring. So I saw the number. I thought it was 1,000 new cases. Is that right in North Carolina today that I read?
Over 1,000. Yeah.
Yeah, what you're talking about. So that's going to impact not just athletics, and heck, that might impact this whole us being able to see private schools.
So I think it's also very important that we be cognizant, as much as we would like to see NCHSAA football this fall, that dealing with over 100 LEAs in the state, we have a couple of other realities that we have to consider. And I'll speak to the most formidable challenges faced by Charlotte-Mecklenburg School Superintendent Ernest Winston and Wake County Public School System Superintendent Kathy Moore, in the sense that what they have to do in this situation, people too often are trying to segment the athletics piece of the equation in this. Superintendents Winston and Moore are in situations where in 100% remote teaching and learning, with which I do believe in due time we can move toward resumption of athletics. In due time, I said. But both of them are in situations where the first things that have to be discerned are exactly what does 100% teaching, remote teaching and learning look like in terms of technology access, in terms of all students who need to be fed. Are they being fed? Not only your free and reduced lunch population, but all students across the LEA who benefit from those services, ensuring that all students have access to appropriate technology and supplemental resources, which is an ongoing responsibility, so as to see that our students at all levels, not just high school, elementary, middle, and high, are in a position where they can pursue and achieve excellence and new learning horizons in remote teaching and learning. We have to see what that looks like first. That's the responsibility, the paramount responsibility that Superintendent Winston, Superintendent Moore, and all superintendents in the state and beyond have. We have to see that first before we can consider an appropriate resumption of education-based athletics. I believe we can get there, but it's not a segmented deal. It's part of a whole pie. So as long as we look at things in such a way that education we don't have in terms of teaching and learning, we can't take an academic part, we can't take an athletics part, we can't take a fine arts part, we can't take a transportation part, we can't take a food part, we can't take a technology part, we can't take a legal part, we can't take any of that stuff. It's the whole thing. And it's inclusive all the way around. So as long as we understand where athletics fits within that whole pie, I think we can get there. But let's keep it in that perspective and realizing the most formidable challenges Superintendent Winston, Superintendent Moore, and all superintendents have right now to achieve this ordered pursuit.
Tim, we had Andrew Houlihan, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name correctly, on back about a month ago, I think it was, and he described how Union County was going to go about both opening schools and staggering students, and how that I'm just curious, your thoughts on how that looks and maybe how that's going. I haven't heard. And well, I'm just going to leave it to you at that, and just tell us about what's happening over that way.
Yeah, well, as you know, I mean, the county rolled out, the ADs and the football coaches did a great job over the summer rolling out practices, spending a lot of time planning and really rolling out a very effective summer practice session for maybe 3 weeks plus, without any major instances, any breakouts throughout that whole time. And then when school rolled around, the decision was made at that point that they were going to suspend football until the spring. And I think right now they're going 1 day a week in class session, and then 4 days virtual. And then September 29th, they start 2 days. And I know that there have been some cases in a school here or there, but I don't think there have been any major outbreaks or spikes within the system. So I think so far, so good in terms of the rollout here in Union County for sure.
Yeah, it sounded like I'm sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Tim, let me ask you this. When North Carolina decided that football would be played and the other sports would be played in the spring, second semester anyway, did they stop workouts or did they allow them to continue?
Yeah, I know that when the decision was initially made, I think that came on a Wednesday. I think most schools were going, at that point they were doing the Monday through Thursday. I think most of them shut down on Thursday. I do believe that schools are working out, but I don't know the details. I guess I should, but to be honest with you, with everything being pushed back now, I'm just trying to focus in on the camps, getting these kids exposure, being that, they're not going to be playing on Friday night. So, I do think that some of the schools and probably most of the schools are doing something, but I don't know to the details of, what the length is.
Okay, so we got this comment here. Not sure some teams are playing fall football is a good idea. How can we be sure COVID will not spike or spread? I think that's obviously concerned by everybody. Understand many universities like Army, Houston, and some of the other smaller schools need money to survive financially. This is also true with high schools in athletics. It just seems like a disaster waiting to happen. If suddenly a whole team gets sick or COVID spreads to one player or coach, then what? And what I saw from what I did, like I said, a little research, and first place I went to was Alabama because we were talking about Alabama a couple of weeks ago, and one of the teams there had an incident, and the assistant coach wound up in ICU, and they had to quarantine the team. And that's unfortunately what's going to happen is that anybody who's playing, at least in the high school level, is when you get an incident, that's kind of the CDC procedure, is to quarantine. And I think we're going to see that also if we do get an opportunity to play college football and college football rolls out. If they get an incident, then anybody that's been within a certain physical area of each other, they end up quarantining them. And then it's going to impact teams that play. So you played a team, that teammate that you just played may have to quarantine. It's just from the dynamics of whether the virus is good, bad, or indifferent, just the way our protocols are, is when somebody tests positive, there's going to be multiple quarantines when we're talking about big team sports like this.
Tim, you really think we should be playing right now? I just wanted you to talk to that and how you think that might be able to work for us to play right now.
Yeah, well, you know, I was trying to be optimistic as possible. It is frustrating to see a state like Texas, Georgia, Florida, with larger populations, higher deaths per 100,000, more cases. North Carolina has done a tremendous job throughout this whole ordeal. We are one of the lower states, and it's just frustrating to see these states playing. We got a state going just south of us, and our kids are now having to wait until the springtime, and you know, and we don't even know if that's really going to happen. We're holding hope for that, but I've been at camps since June, the first week of June. And it's 6 camps I've been to. There haven't been any spikes from any of those reported camps. And at least in Union County, they've been practicing. They were practicing at that time as well. So yeah, it's frustrating. I really feel bad for the kids and the missed opportunities for a lot of them. And I'm just holding hope that we do see some football in the spring. But yeah, I wish they were playing now. I hear Dale when he says, and I realize the CD protocols. I think the whole protocol system with this virus has changed the scope of how we're going to look at things in the future now. You know, a virus is a virus. A virus is going to spread. I don't think in terms of the mitigation and what they've done, I don't know if we'll ever see the data. Certainly not this year. It's going to have to wait a while before we see things on how states approach this. And I mean, you could look at Texas, Florida, Georgia, and they were less restrictive on their populations. And they do have obviously higher cases. Their populations are higher, but their deaths per 100,000 far better than a lot of states that were completely restricted and don't have dense populations as some of these other states. So I'm frustrated really for the kids. I really feel bad for tons of them. I hear it from the parents on the sidelines when I'm at these camps, their frustration that I hear. So it is, you know, it's just a tough situation to be in at this point.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we got to leave it there. But Tim, thanks for coming on, man. Hopefully we'll get you back to talk about some football, because there's nobody I know that knows Union County football the way you do. So thanks for everything you do. Thanks for coming on. We'll definitely have you back.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks so much.
All right. Take care of yourself.
Great job, Tim.
Thanks. Thanks, Chris.
That is a dedicated young man right there to high school football. Chris, I want to get you on 3 Shot with Alex because we got a really special announcement right now. We're going to kick off in 2 weeks. Is it, Alex, 2 weeks?
Yes, September 23rd.
Okay, September 23rd, we're going to start Talking Preps Raleigh. And Alex is going to be the host of Talking Preps Raleigh. What do you plan to do with Talking Preps up in Raleigh, Alex? Who's going to be on your panel?
Well, I'm still getting the final confirmations. I wanted to let this announcement come through. I will go ahead and say that it looks as though, as everything is coming together, that with the NCISAA playing, that it is important that we have NCISAA representation. I'm looking forward to what looks like is going to happen with Mr. Edward J. Ned Gannett.
Oh, yeah.
Ravenscroft School.
He's been there from like 1965 or something.
Well, Ned, I hope you're not watching.
Oh, yeah. That scares me when I come up there, so I don't really think about it. I'm just joking.
Actually, but to put that in perspective, why it will be as these details come together here. A blessing to hopefully have someone like Ned Gannett is since 1981. Which is when Ned came to Ravenscroft in his dual roles as athletics director and head football coach. Think about it like this. Since 1981, 6 individuals have served as president of the United States. 6 individuals have served as governor of North Carolina. 6 individuals have served as head of school at Ravenscroft. And once football begins this season, high school football will have been played in the state of North Carolina in 5 different decades. Wow. So for all of those numbers right there, in that same time span, there has been one athletics director and head football coach at Ravenscroft School.
Wow.
And that is Ned Gannett.
Well, so, I will tell you, Alex, one thing you should do is get Mr. Hughes on your show sometime, because there's nobody, and I mean nobody in North Carolina that knows high school football like that young man to your left. Nobody.
And that is the understatement of this show. That will be that is such an understood thing in terms of something that's going to happen that it's not even worth talking about. It's right. So understood that's going to happen.
Well, and with all that said, Alex, we're going to let Chris have his time. It's time to go to the corner.
I appreciate that. And just to give my 2 cents on the previous segment, I've got to say, having Tim and Alex and all the guys on there, incredible, great content, a lot of great points and food for thought to really digest on in whether or not we should be playing, the political nature of it. And I'll go ahead and say it. Is this political? Absolutely, without a doubt. But, I can also say and have empathy for both sides. I can make a gazillion reasons as to why we should not play, and I can make a few more why we should, weigh it out and do what's right. I don't necessarily agree with it. I've been fairly outspoken about my thoughts on it on Twitter, especially this week. But I can understand the rationale why and support it one way or the other. I do think it's the kids and the players are the ones that are really hurt by this. They're the collateral damage. And that kind of takes me into what I wanted to talk about in tonight's Chris's Corner, was some input and some ability for the kids. And that's why we do prep sports, for them to shine. We can get on here and we can talk about the coaches and, the teams and different winning streaks, but when it comes down to it, it's those 14 to 18-year-old student athletes who really put it on the line each week and give us a bunch of old men something to talk about and kind of relive some glory days. But with that being said, I saw some traffic on social media this week about the ACC kicking off and not allowing parents to come in and play or to come in and observe their kids during the ACC football games that will be kicking off here soon. And that made me think about some different options that we may or may not see in regards to how high school football is going to look, whether the private schools kicking off here soon or next year, if we are able to kick off this February, March football season for next year. I think there's still a great possibility that a lot of the high schools, even next spring, will not be able to have fans. I hope they do, but there's a chance that they won't. And that really made me analyze something and think of a way that schools could really benefit and in some cases even monetize what they're doing and how to make some money and also serve their community. I was reached out to by a few schools this week asking for myself to help, given my background and calling some games on TV. And with the NFHS network and the ability, and you're already seeing a lot of schools streaming their games online, and you can pay a subscription fee. I think that more and more schools should offer this. And I want to take it a step further. We've got a lot of communities that's got the local radio station that does games. But now, working here with Talking Preps, and you've seen the work that Kenzie's done, and she's simply amazing in what she's put together. My shows with Dina Kings and NC Preps and the young men and women that we've got working with us, and to see the absolute incredible talent that some of these young guys possess. I want to see kids like that. Every school's got them. I know they do. I want to see kids like that have an opportunity to produce, run the cameras, call the games, do the play-by-play, do some sideline reporting, find a way to get these guys involved to cover some games, put it on TV, stream it through the NFHS network or maybe their own platform, whatever the case may be. I think it knocks out a couple stones. You're able to get the kids something to do. They're working, they're learning their trades, something they can take with them, but also you're serving your community, you're serving the kids on the team. And I think that it can make a real good positive and something that we can work with even in the future out of this really bad situation. And that's what I've got this week in Chris's Corner. Kenzie, good to see you. You popped up right on time.
Yeah, thank you for the high praises, man. It means a lot.
Absolutely. I seen you in action when I got to play tennis against this guy over here. So I seen you in action. I know what you're capable of.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Kenzie, you got to talk to me because you're amazing. You're getting better every week. I mean, it's just amazing what you do. Tell me who you had this week.
We got Varney. He's the quarterback over at Cox Mill. And if you've seen Cox Mill's progression last year, he's the guy responsible for it. Absolute stud. He makes great plays with his eyes, with his feet, with his arm. He just does everything right. And he's also one of those guys who you just want to see succeed. Super nice guy, a great leader on and off the field. So this is definitely one of my favorite interviews that I've done thus far.
Yeah, and I think there's very few quarterbacks that get recruited pretty heavily. He's one of those guys that a lot of people are looking at. So that shows you everybody's checking him out as well. So let's roll the tape. Let's see what he's got.
Get down, ball.
Varney, you chose to go to Navy. Why did you choose that school?
So I chose Navy because, it felt like home. The coaching staff are really good guys, and we just mesh really well together. And most people just don't understand that. When I was little, one of my biggest dreams was I always wanted to be a Marine. So I think it's just so ironic that at this stage, it's like I get to go play big time D1 football, but I also get to live out that childhood dream, which was being in the military. So it's a great school, man. Like it's more than football. Football's only lasts like this much. Football is not that. It's not going to take up my whole life. So I chose Navy just looking at my future and looking out for my kids and just putting myself in the best position to be successful in the future. So that's why I love that school.
That's a really cool story. Now, Varney, you're going to play football in the spring with Cox Mill. Do you feel like that's really setting you up for your future at Navy?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I'm going to go out with a bang with my guys. I'm one of those guys. I'm not going to go Hollywood just because I'm committed and stuff like that. I didn't work so hard to get to this position and just not play. So you can get hurt in any given time. I cannot play my senior year and go play my freshman year and get hurt. So, it's not about me. It's about my teammates, and I owe it to my community and the coaching staff and everyone that just supports Cosmo football. So I'm going to go out there and just, go out with a bang and give it everything I got.
Awesome. Now, Varney, Cox Mill, we saw last year you guys made a big jump, went to the playoffs, really succeeded. How do you see yourself and Cox Mill doing this year?
I see us in Cox Mill doing extremely, extremely good. I think this will be the best year Cox Mill football has ever had in the program history.
Well, there you have it.
Full video drops tonight at 10.
That's right, 10 o'clock on all the Observer channels. Now, Grice, am I going to get it right tonight, Grice?
I think you got it today. I think, you've had good work this weekend. You've really prepped hard. I think it's going to be great.
I prepped hard. We're going to drop the fresh faces thing.
Drop it.
And then we'll see if I blow it or not. Here we go.
Man, we got Tyshawn. People are gonna start thinking I'm a
No, wait a minute,
all the
Kenzie.
way.
I got it right. My hands are up. I'm excited.
Let's go, Kenzie. Leave the old guy alone. Let's go, Kenzie.
Come on, let me celebrate, Kenzie. Go ahead, tell us about the young fella.
I mean, my guy's a ball hawk. He wants to get to the ball, and he's going to do it quick. And when he gets to that ball, he's going to hit them with power. He's going for the big shot. He's a big, physical, powerful player, and he's going to be there to make the great plays. He's a young guy. He's only coming up on his junior year. Big fella, 6'2", 245. So he's got great room to grow, and he's just going to be another valuable asset for Cox Mill.
We just heard from their quarterback talking about how good they're going to be. Somebody tell me how to say the young man's last name.
It's a good question.
Farnbula, I think it is. I don't want to get
his name. Farnbula.
But they're going to be really good, huh, Chris?
Yeah, Kenzie, I don't care if you're a homer or not by playing these Cox Mill tapes. They're going to be really, really good. And I've said this before. I think they've got enough talent to really challenge for that conference with Kannapolis. They're an incredible football team.
All right, here we go. Braden McAllister from Porter Ridge. Dale, what you know?
Yeah, man. So, Porter Ridge has had some great kickers, Matt Wogan, from the past. And this kid's actually been working out with him. And Tim Winters had a wonderful interview up on his site that people might want to check out. And this kid lining the ball up on the back of the end zone and kicking at the goalpost to hit the goalpost. He's dedicated. He's got a leg. I don't know what more to say. He's accurate.
I don't know what it is about Union County, but they always seem to have really good kickers and punters and long snappers.
Surrounding areas, man.
Soccer.
If I'm a college coach, I'm always checking down there. All right, here we go. Jalen Newman, Weddington. Nice.
It's one of the best DBs you never heard of. 5'10", 167. Again, he's a DB. You see 29 pass breakups and 52 tackles for a DB. This is a corner, not a safety. Again, at 5'10", 167, shows you he's a physical player. Here you see this kid's Catholic, looking for a surprise play. Kid that has great closing speed. You see he's 10 yards away, able to make that interception quickness. And you see he gets the ball, he knows what to do with it. Again, this Weddington team is lauded for shifting. Yeah, this guy, I think he's right in the 4 or 5 range, but kid had 20 offers, 5 Ivy League schools gave him an offer. So his grades are exceptional. This play was exceptional here. One arm, able to deny the receiver to play. Kid's a ball hawk. It's surprising that it took this long, and that again, you have to put a guy with 20 offers on fresh faces. But you see someone with this talent should have received some of the higher praise that some of these guys in the city do.
Well, that's why we give these guys like this little notoriety that people don't know. And if you guys have candidates for fresh faces, you want us to consider them, hit me up, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. My DM's always open. I want to know who we should be featuring here so we can find the stars of tomorrow today. And sometime a guy who's really should be a star already, like this young fella, we can feature him. But he's going to be president of somebody's company in a couple of years. He's getting a education.
Fantastic kid. I think even better kid than player from what I've known. He's a great kid.
Yeah. There's some pretty good looking highlights right there. All right, Sam, Fort Mill, Nathan Brooks.
We got to get a guy in the trenches, 6'4", 280, another Ivy League type guy. He's got a 4.45 GPA, 1130 on the SAT. He's a member of the Beta Club, FCA, the whole deal. So he's like a stand-up guy. I can see Ivy League schools starting to come after this guy. He's really good at reach blocking. He's really good at getting to second level. That's probably
down.
Yeah. Best thing, watch how he gets to second level. I mean, it's very good. He can climb very good. He's got a long body, and he's able to climb. That's going to create big plays for your running game. And it's hard to do these days because linebackers are very agile, and he's able to touch them with those long arms and then climb on them. See, there's a reach block right there. Really good job by him. I think he needs to get a little bit more physical at the point of contact where he can actually, dominate and put people on the ground. Then he'd get a lot of big offers after that.
Sam, you like all these down linemen, all this trench stuff, and oh, wait a minute, Gary. This is an athlete right here, Darian Starnes of Burns.
Watch this first highlight. Watch this guy walk down a running back.
No, he's not going to catch him. No, he's not going to catch him. He's not going to catch him.
That's a highlight. That's one of the That's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a defensive tackle or defensive end chasing down a running back. This kid is going to be something. He's 6'1", 234. He can play with his hand on the ground, or he can play standing up. He can play a 9 technique, or he can play a 5 technique, or 4-eye. He's just a football player. Rushes the passer, has a great body lean when he gets past his tackle.
Sack lunch.
Not only that, they got some cool uniforms. That's the only San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, Burns is up there.
Yeah, I like the they look. Chris, how good is Burns going to be this year, Chris?
Well, you know what? I think I upset some Reidsville fans, but when I put out my preseason rankings, I had Burns as the second best 2A team behind Shelby. And I'm not so sure, man for man, Burns ain't the most athletic 2A team in the state of North Carolina. And they're going to be right there neck and neck in the hunt for the championship this year. And you can just see it right there. They're unbelievable.
So wait a minute, the 2 best 2A teams in the state are like 2 miles apart. Is that what you're trying to
Cleveland County? They're little.
You can't do that, Chris. That's my neck of the woods. That's like bad about Tommy not down here.
All right, Chris, tell us about Tommy Miller, Metro Atlanta Christian.
I really like Tommy Miller, but what I really like is talking about Metro Atlanta Christian. Last week I got to talk about Russell Tabor over at Charlotte Country Day, and you know, too often we're guilty of it, get called up talking about the big schools. But I think this is really going to put a spotlight on some of these private schools. And guess what? There is some really good athletic players playing private school. Thomas Langley, the head football coach down there at Metro Atlanta, does a great job. But this young man right here, Tommy Miller, is a tackling machine. You look at him right there. He's a young guy. He's still got a couple years to really develop into a college prospect. But he does nothing but disrupt football, disrupt the airways, and make tackle after tackle after tackle. This is a young guy. He's built well, 5'11", about 185, 190 pounds. He maybe even put some muscle on from now. And look at the cover skills right there at the corner. Playing the ball, looking at the eyes, and waiting for the last possible minute to put his arm up there to disrupt the play again. Tremendous cover skills. This is a guy that we're going to have to keep our eyes out for because, you know, again, he's a young player, but you can just tell right here against some really good teams, Providence Day, and Country Day, that he is exceptionally talented. Just look at him right there. Look at him playing that ball hawk position back there. There you see him in the safety. And look, boom, he can come up and play the run. We've seen his pass coverage. I like him. And, you know, he might not be that D1 blue chip guy today. He might get there, but he's what I call a good football player. And you can't have a good team without a safety who can play center field but can also go back and play the run.
I would take 11 good football players all day long.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, when I become a football player, I want Chris Hughes to narrate my highlights.
Oh, he's got it. He's got that like new age Collins.
That Herbie kind of thing. You know, I don't know what it is.
Hey, I've had a little bit of practice. Don't forget, Nate put me on Football Friday night, so I've kind of got it down a little bit. I'm working to try to get to his level.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I kind of have an idea.
Before we let you get out of here, kids, who's on tap next week? Do you know yet?
No.
Nobody will get somebody good next week?
2021 athletes, I want to talk to you. So if you're watching this, hit me up.
Let's go.
What's the Twitter handle?
You on Twitter?
IG.
Kinsey McLean 2. Twitter, DM me. Instagram's Kinsey McLean 25. DM me there. I'll get back to you. Promise. I want to hear from you.
All right, that's Miss Kinsey. She's been getting really popular on this show, and I hear from a lot of people that want you to come see them. And I can't wait for you and Dale to get out to see some high school football just a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
So we're going to a little talking prep pregame, and maybe a little Sam and Dale back in the car, a little normalcy maybe. So we'll catch you next week, Kinsey. Thanks a lot.
All right, see you then.
All right. It's Kinsey McLean. Tim Winters says I was asking about punters and kickers and whatnot. He says in the water. And I think I made a reference to Jalen Newman going to school, and Chris says he's going to Princeton. If I said it wrong, I apologize. Again, I told you this. I mean, Tim is Mr. Union County. It's just it's just him. Okay, now we got to get rid of not get rid of, but we're gonna take Gary out, Dale out, and I'm going to get out. So y'all know what.
All right, hey,
baby.
Wait, where's our theme music? We gotta have our theme.
All right, here it is. Mano a mano, coach versus coach. I got one on the left. I've got one on the right. I've got the right script this week, so I'm not going to juggle that and make that look bad. But, men, we've had a great show, and I think it's only about to get better.
No doubt.
All right.
I love the first question, and I love to go first because it's not even a good question. I think.
Well, let me read it first, and I'll give you the first.
Oh, wait on, Browner. We got to go.
I'm going to get my 2 cents as well. But here we go. Will Dutch Fork win a 5th state championship? Max Prep has Gaffney as the #1 team in the preseason poll.
Yeah, Dutch Fork will win another state championship because they have the GOAT coaching now, Tommy Knotts, the best to ever do it in North Carolina, the best to ever do it in South Carolina when he's said and done. And the thing is this, it's disrespectful, in my opinion, whenever you – like, I know Gaffney is very talented. They're an extremely talented team, but there's something to do with coaching in football. It's a big thing. And you have the GOAT and he's got a talented team. Until you're able to beat him, how in the world do you put a team in front of him? Are you just trying to make him mad? Do you want him to win a 5th one by blowing everybody out? It's not even close.
Yeah, well, I got a little bit more motivation there, with Chris disrespecting my mother's hometown and Reedsville and stating that they're not going to be as good as Burns this year and not have a chance to, to fight for another state title. So I've got to be the villain here and take the other side. I do, we know Tommy Knotts is a GOAT. We know that program is consistently been the best in South Carolina. But I do want to say we're seeing some cracks on the facade. You watch that Mallard Creek Dutch Fork game, and I mean, without an incredible game, by Jalen Hyatt and really keeping that team in, Mallard Creek really seemed to dominate that game for stretches and seemed to have Tommy Knotts on the ropes, which we haven't seen a lot. You look at a team that, you want to see that challenge them. They're going to have a makeup of a team like a Gaffney. You're going to see, Andre Lindsay had 3,500 total yards. He's returning. You're going to see, Tyler Smith, Natron Johnson, the addition of Kobe Pacer. So if we're going to have a team that's going to unseat one of the greater programs now in South Carolina as approaching in South Carolina history, you're going to see that. You're going to see that a team like Dutch Fork, as we're used to seeing them dominate in the state championship game, only winning by 3 against Dorman. So, it's hard to go against, but the signs are showing up. They talk about symptoms before you actually get the virus. We're starting to see some of the signs of cracks in the facade, and I think that's what's happening here. And I think Gaffney is a worthy team to be able to take advantage of that.
Well, Grice, let me say this. Playing football in Gaffney is like Shelby. Just that flip them around one state, one side, just right there across the state line. They both have football in the blood, in the water, the barbecue, whatever it is they've got there. They
What's the base, baby?
Playing football there in that reservation. They used to have the old reservation. Now they got the new modern, beautiful one that sits about 20,000 people. That is a stadium in and of itself. It's an unbelievable experience in the history. Everything is amazing. You mentioned Kobe Pacer coming down from Kings Mountain. That's going to put them right up there in that top echelon. But Tommy Knotts is Tommy Knotts. I've sat there. I've watched film with the guy. I've seen the competitiveness in him. I promise you, we could be sitting here. You think me and Sam went at it playing tennis? I tell you, if Tommy Knotts was in here throwing darts, he would beat you to death just to beat you by 100. That's how he is. He is the most competitive person, and you mix that competitiveness with his, by the way, his exceptional Duke IQ, his Duke diploma. He is on a different level intellectually than anybody you'll ever meet. I will never bet against.
I'm glad you
they
said
got
that.
a lot of kids to replace, though. They got a lot. QB's gone. Hyatt's gone. They've got a lot of big pieces.
Have you seen their strength coach? Have you seen? I've been fortunate.
I understand. I'm not saying, again, we know. I'm not sitting here saying that they're way off or that's going to be gone. Remember, that game between Gaffney and Dutch Fork is going to be at University of South Carolina if they allow it. That is a game that would have to happen in the state title. So, again, we're looking at a situation where I'm not sitting here saying that they're not going to be poised. I'm not saying that Dutch Fork's going to be, way down below, but we are seeing some cracks in the facade. When I watched that Mallard Creek game last year, that was one of the first times in my life that I'd seen a team like that on the ropes in Dutch Fork.
Let me say one thing about the Mallard Creek game. I'm glad you brought that up. The level of talent, you're talking about Gaffney's got a lot of talent. The level of talent that Mallard Creek had compared to Dutch Fork was
not even comparable.
It wasn't even close. And that shows you how great of a coaching job he did. He did things he's not normally doing. He's doing trick plays. He's doing things to stay in the game. And they still were tied with them. You see what I'm saying? Like his ability, you have to be way better than him to even compete to beat him.
But let's be careful. They're not a playoff game now. They did not win a playoff game.
And I'm running this segment, so I want to make one more final point before we go on to the next question. Grice, you're an air raid guy. You like to throw the ball. Sam, I know what you like to do. You want to get in that wing tee. But let's just say one more thing about Tommy Knox. We've seen him spread it out and throw it downfield, but we've also seen him with the same team next year get behind the eye, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, and pound it down your throat. He is the most versatile coach that you'll ever see. He will change his system to fit his personnel, not the other way around, and I think that's what makes him so good.
No doubt.
All right, let's go to the next question. Coach versus coach here. The NFL comes back this week, and the Carolina Panthers host the Raiders. Who's going to win? The Panthers? Are they going to win? Are they going to lose? Grice, we'll go with you.
I think the Panthers are going to start off, this season 1-0. They're going to have a great, 1-0 season as they're going to start with Christian McCaffrey's going to have a great game. I think, again, Teddy Bridgewater is being disrespected. I think he comes out in this game, got a West Coast team coming over to the East Side, having to play week 1, new stadiums and all the craziness that's going on with the Raiders. I think the Panthers come out and play a true Panther-style game. Christian McCaffrey with a high-volume game on offense and the defense reminding you and showing you, hey, Luke Kuechly may not be physically on this field, but the spirit of Luke Kuechly and the tough defense that we've known the Panthers for, that's what we're going to get week 1 against the Raiders team. It's been pretty shaky and inconsistent all last year. We're going to see a win by the Panthers. It may not be pretty, but I think we're going to get them to go 1-0.
Did everybody forget? Did everybody forget about the Raiders and Hard Knocks last year? Knock on wood. Knock on wood, if you're with me. They have John Gruden. John Gruden is different level. Everybody thought that they weren't going to be that good last year, and they actually were better than what everybody thought. They thought it was a disaster. Like, there's no way the Raiders can be good. They were actually relevant. I think that Matt Rule is going to do a great job with the Panthers, but I think that he's going to have to adjust to the NFL. It's a little bit different. And see, Gruden is a mastermind of that. He's really good at it. I think Raiders, Derek Carr, he's been there in the system. Teddy Two Gloves is just now coming in. You know what I'm saying? Teddy Two Gloves is, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but
it's tough. Yeah.
Raider Nation is going to prevail in the first game. But I think that we could be tanking on purpose to go first draft pick, and I'm okay with that. Get old Clemson, man.
I'm with you right there. I've got to go with you, Coach Griner. I think that Chucky, John Gruden, is a mastermind, and I do think, I want the hometown team to win, but I think that it's going to be one guy playing checkers and another guy playing chess, and I want to take the Raiders and probably about 11. But anyway, let's go on to the next question right here. Number 1 pick. Who is your number 1 pick in the fantasy draft? And Coach Griner, will go with you.
Yeah, this is the simplest thing. I play in about 5 fantasy leagues, and that's probably a little too much. But I researched this. All right, there's only a select few of really good running backs in certain tiers. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. There's a lot of good wide receivers, but the running back's very scarce. And you get the number 1 running back, Christian McCaffrey. Speaking of the Panthers, you have to go with him number 1 overall. He's catching balls out of the backfield. Almost every league you play in is a PPR. And Christian McCaffrey is by far the number 1 pick you're supposed to take in fantasy. The numbers he produced are unbelievable, and the difference between the next guy is significant. All right, that's all I can say. It's an easy decision. Christian McCaffrey, CMC.
Right, what you got?
I don't know what numbers you're looking at. It's not too significant, between this guy and the league MVP, Lamar Jackson. I think without question that you have a guy on your team that gets the ball in his hands every single play. Lamar is dynamic. He can do it in the air, but also give you those yards on the ground, which help whenever you need a quarterback that's different. Running backs, yes, if you don't have the elite guys, you can plug and play. Again, this is a passing league. I know you love running the ball. We talk about the NFL. Having great receivers is necessary. You can get by without that top guy. And again, I'm a little worried, with Christian McCaffrey this year. A lot of attention, a lot of use. He's that one guy that teams have to key on. With the Ravens, they do a great job with running the ball with 3 or 4 different guys, getting the ball down the field to the tight ends. And Lamar Jackson's the benefactor of all of that when it comes to fantasy points. Without question, McCaffrey's good. If I fall into McCaffrey, that's fine. I want the league MVP, the guy with the ball in his hands every play, Lamar Jackson.
It's just in fantasy, and I agree with you. I think Lamar Jackson is phenomenal. I think that you can reach for him and get him in the second round. I wouldn't take Lamar Jackson in the first round of fantasy draft just because you got Patrick Mahomes is very comparable. You actually have someone like a Josh Allen. A lot of people sleep on. You get him in the 10th round, so you can get all these studs going into it. Josh Allen ran the football pretty well last year for the Buffalo Bills. So you got to look at the strategy. Even though he's a great player and he probably will score the most points in fantasy, you got to look at the differences in the tiers. And I think that Christian McCaffrey is so much better than everybody else.
And a big if I was going to play, I'd have to go for Patrick. My homeboy's my home. But, I've been involved in sports for a long time. Been a sports fan forever, 20, 30, 40 years. You know how many times I've played fantasy football?
I don't know, but it's probably that's terrible.
That's insane. I think that should be the stat. Where's Langston with the bar below whenever Sam does something crazy? Never played fantasy football. That should be Chris Hughes' tag right there. That's incredible.
We should have a high school fantasy. That would be unbelievable.
That would be fun. Chris would beat all of us.
Chris would
beat all of us. He would get some guy. He would get the quarterback in Perkman.
Smarter than all of us. He would probably have the analytics that we don't see. So I don't know that I'd line up against Dale because he would win.
Yeah, so no, that's incredible. But I think that's the bigger question. So, Sam, what is the longest standing fantasy league you've been in? I've been in about 2 or 3. But what's the longest one you've been in?
I've been in one for 10 years. All my friends that we grew up with together, we started one. We call it Should Have Made More Goals in Life, and we jack up the spelling on purpose. We got a championship belt that we do, put a little bit of funds on it, and we really enjoy it. We really do.
No, that's awesome.
You got a long queue, don't you, Grace?
Yeah, I've got one. So we're actually not doing it this year. We decided, I think everybody was a little unsure. This would have been my 16th year in this same fantasy league. I got in as a freshman in college with one of my guys who was one of my best friends since freshman year. This would have been that, with a lot of our friends, family, and stuff like that. So sucks, but, we got to move forward, and hopefully next year will be a little calmer.
Well, speaking of move forward, let's get this one question right here. Who is the best Avenger in Marvel? Bryce, I'm going to let you go first.
Got to be the Hulk. I mean, I think whenever you look at all these movies, Hulk is, the main one. All these other guys have these big disadvantages and big, gaps that they've made. I mean, you look at an Iron Man who, his creation led to one of the biggest villains that we've ever seen. You look at Thor who, Brian, I hope you're not choosing Thor. I mean, the way he let himself go in Ragnarok is shameful to a guy that prides himself in keeping himself up like you. Captain America is old. I mean, you got the Hulk. You've really got a guy that's the best of both worlds. You got was he a physicist and, Bruce Banner that does all these great things and helps people and does all, this positive stuff. He really advocates for nonviolence, which is great, as far as what you want to be. But if you get him angry, he deals with what he needs to. And when he's not angry no more, he gets back to being great for, for the community and what he wants to do. So it's got to be the Hulk. He's the best. He's the smartest. Says it's even in his password.
And I like the Hulk. Don't get me wrong, but there's a big issue with the Hulk. Did you watch the last movie with the Hulk in it? It's like depressing because he's like a pansy now. Like he's not even tough. He's not even like you talking about when he gets angry. He don't even get angry no more. So how can the Hulk be better than Thor? Even though Thor's a little hefty, he got that axe, baby. He got that.
Thor's not even the best brother. We talk about the first Avengers. The first Avengers plot is that his brother outsmarted him.
Can I have my time? You that frustrated that I'm pulling up the
I am. You are great about your health, and this guy was out here fat in Ragnarok. You don't stand for that.
He is hefty, but he daggone when he get that axe, it's a different level. He kills people. Literally, Thanos whooped the Hulk. Like
he whooped everybody. Who did he whoop everybody? Thor by himself.
He smacked him around and said, "You know what? I don't even want to be angry no more." He made him not be angry no more.
You know why? Because they sent him out. They said, "Take our best. He's the one that can defeat him." He did. Everybody has bad days. Thor had the bad day in Ragnarok, and how did he get back? Is when he saw the Hulk. The Hulk brought Thor back to who he was supposed to be. That lets
he's like a negotiator now. He's not angry, but
he had two sides. He can still impact without that. When Thor was fat, he wasn't worth anything. You had to get the Valkyries. You had to get all these other people that are amazing to help Thor be Thor again. And I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, I think, as much as you pride yourself in being in shape, as much as you're that guy, I thought you would have chosen somebody better than that.
Well, I picked a god. Thor's a god, if I believe.
Right? I need to show you the picture. I better not ever see you with your stomach out, sitting there looking crazy because you're so depressed.
I ain't gonna lie. Before I went the vegan route, I kind of was going on that route. I was looking very similar to Thor.
I'm glad you got your Hulk. Maybe it's your wife in your life. I'm glad you got your Hulk to get you out of your Ragnarok stage and got you back out here fighting and avenging.
That's Thor. I mean, there's just no doubt. I mean, come on, fellas.
I know.
You look at all the Thor movies about him getting
Thor
whooped by his
came
brother.
to the field in Infinity War, and he had Gungan, whatever that thing is. He dropped it, and all people just blew away.
So that takes away from all the times his brother beat him.
And they had to make Thor fat in the last one, otherwise it'd have been over. They had to take him out.
The movie wouldn't have lasted long.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
we got all these other movies because his brother whooped his butt.
Thor beat the Hulk down in Ragnarok.
And they had to make him fat because all the men were getting depressed looking at Chris,
Chris Hemsworth.
You know what I'm saying? And we had self-confidence build back. I'm like, oh, he is huge.
Here we go. I love Coach versus Coach. You guys, I'm in the back. I don't know if you guys can see me. I'm just dying. I'm like wiping tears out of my eyes.
I'm just
all
shocked.
right.
Yeah.
We're gonna switch up from the funny. Gary, we got a comment earlier from Natasha. She was concerned. I don't know who used it doing Fresh Faces. Somebody called a black athlete a stud, and she said she's upset about it. She said, let's discontinue calling black athletes studs. What are your thoughts on that, Gary?
Here's the thing about sports. When we're talking about superlatives in sports, we always compare it to animals. When we're talking about superlatives in sports and competition, we use war analogies. Let's go to battle, survival of the fittest. He's a beast. She's an Amazon. Those are things that we have used for years. Now, does it make it right? I don't know. I mean, we've talked about earlier tonight about politics in sports, and it has its place. And then sometimes you don't want to hear about any politics. You just want to enjoy the activity. So, I mean, to each his own. It doesn't bother me as an African-American man to hear somebody called a stud. It may be because I've heard it for years. But to me, it's a comment that is made in praise to single out how good somebody is, not that they don't have the intellect to do whatever it is that you want them to do or you want to compare them to. To me, it's a little bit too much political correct, but that's my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's way too much political correctness. And I think we want to tread lightly on trying to masculinity, take the masculinity away from athletics, or at least from the male athletics. You look back at, whether it's Coach David Bennett down at Coastal Carolina saying he needs more dogs, or Coach Dave Doran all the time says, man, our dudes just weren't as good. You need more dudes, or you need more studs. That's just a sports term that gets used, and under no circumstances is by calling a player a stud athlete or a stud player is that derogatory towards him. And I don't think it's derogatory towards the ethnicity of the player or anything. I don't think anything at all. I just think that it's one of those given. So like Gary, I kind of agree with you, Gary. I just don't think that this is something that I would think negatively upon. You want to be PC and you want to be open-minded and care about other people's feelings. But I think that you got to preserve some sports terms in sports. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think being a younger guy, maybe I'm fine with, it not being used. I mean, I think I tried my lexicon whenever describing kids as to not utilize stud or dog. I mean, I think, a dude or a guy, or things like that are perfectly acceptable, but I can completely understand someone, taking issue as far as utilizing those terms when describing any kid. I mean, not just, black players. I think that, utilizing kids and speaking of them in some of these terms, it can be a little uncomfortable hearing coaches say, well, I got dogs and studs. And to me, I think it's no problem with simply switching over, to talking about, I got a guy, I got a dude. I jokingly a podcast I listen to randomly that, calls them dude, dude alert, watch out because this guy's a dude. So, I in this time of reflection, I think that's a great way to determine, where we're looking at school names, where we're looking at, certain things. And we've looked at some of the Confederate wallpaper that maybe, permeate through our southern areas. Things like this are okay to look at and say, hey, does this make the most sense? Are we offending? Are we hurting anybody? Because it takes nothing, for me to stop using the term. It really doesn't. But, if someone may feel some kind of way, I'm fine with that. And I understand that, taking that consideration to others, maybe, greater for the greater good. Excuse me.
This is a tough one. I get where she's coming from, and the exact reference for why she finds it offensive. But then you can call a white person a player a stud. Why can't I call a black player a stud when we're not talking about that? We're talking about the true meaning of that word being the best. So when you stud a horse, you're using the best horse to develop, the best horses. I don't know if I put that correctly, but if it's offensive, I would certainly not use it around someone that's offensive. But personally, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm kind of like Gary. It's something that's always been around, and it's just been referenced as the best. And to say I got a dude is not the same as I've got a stud. In our reference of athletics, we're talking about we have a great guy, or I've just got a guy. I've got a dude is just, okay, yeah, I've got 42 players on my team. Yeah, but I got one guy that's the guy. Now, if we come up with a better term for that guy, Thor.
I think it's just
we can call him Thor. I'm good with that. I don't want to offend anybody.
No, and I get it. And if someone was sensitive on my team, and I called him a beast or something of that nature, and I'm referring to something good, that's a good thing. But if someone comes at me and says, "Hey, I'd rather not be called that," then I won't call them that. I would refer away from it. But the thing is, this is not a race thing. It's not a race thing at all. Like I've called white guys studs. I've called black guys studs. I've called, Asian guys studs. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. I mean, a stud's a stud, a beast is a beast. We're trying to refer, and then as coaches, we're trying to be hip, trying to be cool. We're trying to be relevant to the kids in a way that where when we speak, it gives them good praises. It makes them feel good. Like, he's a really good athlete. That's not exciting sometimes, even though he's a great athlete. Sometimes we put a little bit more emphasis on it.
Gabby Bird, big fan of the show. Grice knows her well. That's her feelings on the subject. I tend to agree with her. I don't think there's any harm meant by it. As Gary said, we just kind of call people, as a black man, that does not offend me. And I do think there's probably right now a little bit too much political correctness in society. You can't say anything to anybody with cancel culture and all this stuff coming out to get you.
I think one of the things that she needs, well, I'm not going to say she needs, because that's on her. Yeah. But is to understand we mostly talk about football on here. And
you mean the original? You mean Natasha, the original poster here?
Right. Yeah, we mostly talk about football on here, and a lot of times the majority of the players on a team are African American. And that plays a role in it. I mean, it's no different than you watch an NFL game, or you watch a Power 5 game, or you watch an NBA game. The majority of the athletes are going to be African American right now. And so if they're dominating a particular sport and one stands out above the others, I can't see that as being racist.
I would love to hear her give her explanation about it. I really would love to hear if she could explain exactly why it's offensive. Then it might, communication is the whole key. Just open up line of communication.
Because it was used, in the slavery days, you had a stud and you were trying to breed the strongest workers or the strongest slaves. So you tried to marry up the stronger people, and thus you turned a human into a stud like you do a racehorse.
Yeah,
if I look back in history of football, when it was 100% white people playing, I bet you the term stud is going to come up used because it's just kind of a natural thing.
It's a very natural thing, and let's leave that there. But Dale, I did want to ask you, what is that behind you?
So, in all of my research about our topic tonight, myocarditis is one of the effects that COVID has. And the first thing that hit me was Penn State having such a large number of athletes, percentage-wise, that they diagnosed with this. And thus, this is a weakening of an inner layers of the heart. And when you stress as in athletics we do, when you stress the heart and you have this condition, it's an inflammation. There's some serious potential harm here that can come from this. So I didn't bring it up in our segment of the 2-minute warning, but this is one of the things you have to worry about with young people. Is even though you're asymptomatic and you're not hacking and coughing and all these other things, the body still gets attacked. And it's just that we're strong, or some people are stronger, that it doesn't impact them like it does others, but they're still getting impacted. So this is one of the other reasons why some, although this is a new condition, fairly new, that's why some of the, go ahead.
Chris, we didn't hear your favorite Avenger. Who was your favorite Avenger, Chris?
I'm embarrassed to say this, just like I've not played any fantasy football. I've never watched any of the movies. I have no clue.
Well, I was just saying you want to
never
play fantasy
man. In fact, I was hoping we were going to go to the original topic about Batman, because my favorite Batman's Michael Keaton, and I even go back.
Hey, you're giving away future coach versus coach.
That's right. See, what are we doing?
Don't give away the future.
Hey,
neither one of us like Batman. He's a regular human that has a lot of money.
Actually, there's a Twitter page on Batman that's hilarious because it criticizes all the dumb stuff he does.
Save that. They asked him what a superpower was. He said, "I'm rich." All right, Sam, we're running way heavy. What you got?
Yeah. Just real quick, just everybody, you got to be excited about football's right around the corner. I believe it begins Thursday for the NFL, and I'm just excited. Get on your fantasy drafts, enjoy it. A lot of us are not playing football right now, but if you play fantasy, at least it'll be relevant and it'll be fun.
Man, that's all you got?
That's it, man. You said heavy, baby.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Hey, Sam,
let me count the screen.
Sam, what is that logo you have on your shirt?
Oh yeah, yeah, baby. So right here, let's give up to Army. Yeah, they whooped up on Middle Tennessee, and it wasn't even close. I'm gonna be honest with you. Me and Coach Steve Shaughnessy were going back and forth. He was texting me, and he was like, "If I was that coach, I would wear that mask all the way home."
Chris, we got one from Karen Belk. I know that's gonna be close to your heart. No Shrine Bowl this year.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's tough. That's a tough deal. First time in 84 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough thing. Karen's also pulling for Army, coach. So you got a fan there. You got a fan there.
My boy played fantastic. He played amazing. He's number 15.
Baby. Guys, it's been a great show. We're like I said this week, we're not going past 90 minutes, and it's almost 2 hours. So I appreciate it, man. I love you guys. Now we're about to have like the post game wrap up. One of these days we're gonna do like a Peloton or something, so you guys can see, because the before show and after the show is like way better than the show. But one day we got to show it. That's Sam, that's Chris, that's Gary, that's Dale, and that's my man Jonathan Grice is on the Fat Boy Workout Club. That was called Fat Boy Running Club.
Thick Boy Running Club.
Thick Boy Running Club.
Guys running too. 5 days a weekdays, baby.
Your weight, the right kind of weight, not that other kind of weight. And we'll catch you guys next week. Nobody laugh at me and Gary. We catch you guys next week. Oh, shoot.